And once again, good afternoon. Not the best of weather conditions, but we certainly going to press forward with this prize-giving ceremony for Vincymas 2022. And just to say that, of course, based on what's happening at this point in time, we are going to be doing things as swiftly as possible here this afternoon. So without further ado, I would like you to put your hands together and welcome to the podium the chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation, Mr. Ricardo Adams.
Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Legal Affairs and Information, the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez, Chairman of the National Lotteries Authority, Mr. Murray Bullock, members of the board and staff of the Carnival Development Corporation, members of the components, sponsors, members of the media, friends of Vincymas. Good evening. I'm not sure with the lighting levels whether it's afternoon or evening. It's still afternoon. Okay. So good afternoon to all and welcome to the prize giving ceremony for Vincymas 2022. Let me begin by apologizing for the Minister of Culture, who unfortunately is off island at this point in time and is unable to attend. Nevertheless, he sends his greetings to all and best wishes. The Carnival Development Corporation, after discussions with the cabinet in early 2022, took a decision to host Vincymas 2022, notwithstanding the challenges that it presented. And just to refresh the memories of those, we did not have Vincymas in 2020 due to COVID, and in 2021 due to a combination of COVID and Madame La Soufrière. And so in 2022, we thought that despite some of the uncertainty that still surrounded the hosting of Vincymas, that it was important that our cultural components and our practitioners of this very important aspect of the culture of St. Vincent and the Grenadines would be able to come out and express themselves, and that Vincentians could continue again to enjoy Vincymas. And so we pushed ahead with Vincymas 2022 because we recognized that had we let it sit for another year, we would have lost a significant portion of the energy that is Vincymas. When the decision was taken, we were fully aware that being one of the very first islands to host a full mass coming out of the COVID, that we would be faced with a number of challenges. We recognized that with some of the challenges on the airline front, we would have had limited foreign participation in Vincymas. The uncertainty surrounding COVID meant that a number of the components could not go ahead full steam with preparations for Vincymas, because at any point in time, we could have been faced with another level of restrictions. I'm just going to give the technical guys a little chance to get some of the equipment out of the way. One of the challenges we also faced was due to the economic climate. There was a downturn in the sponsorship that Vincymas was able to attract. But notwithstanding all of this, we went ahead with the festival, and to a large extent, the festival met the expectations and the needs of the CDC, of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and of the components. There were a number of innovations in Vincymas 2022 that we had to deal with. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of them. We had the return of Pankai Mass to the Sunday evening in Vincymas. And this meant that for the first time in a number of years, Panorama, Mass in the form of sections of the bands, and Calypso was able to grace the stage on the marsh ground. The Calypsonians sang one song, and I think that quite a number of persons would agree with me that this one song was a wonderful innovation, and it is something that we should be looking to continue going forward. The Junior Panorama became a showcase and was taken out of the Vincymas calendar and put later on in the year outside of the Victoria Park. And again, kudos to the Yulupan movement. We think that that was a wonderful move on their behalf. And the support that they got really augurs well for the continuation of the Junior Pan as a component of Vincymas. The Miss SVG, while we were looking at moving it outside of Vincymas for a couple of years, last year actually provided the impetus for us to be able to take it to the Annesville playing field and during the October Independence celebrations. And kudos to the Beauty Shows Committee and the Shows and Marketing Committee of the CDC for putting on a fantastic show. I can tell you that for the first time in many, many years, we surpassed the $100,000 mark at the gates, and we had one of the largest turnouts. So notwithstanding the challenges, we were very happy to report that in terms of the persons turning out and the gate receipts, we were very pleased with the Miss SVG. We supported a number of the components, and in particular, the masquerade component decided that they would have a showcase last year. And what we did, we took what would have ordinarily been the prize monies for the masquerade, and we divided it up equally among the member bands who were participating. And they have actually received more than 80% of their appearance fees already. Aside from that, we provided music on the road for the mass bands. We provided music on the road for Juve. We provided music on the road for Monday evening. And for persons who know that any one of the music trucks is over $10,000, I'm just here to tell you that the CDC spent over $200,000 just providing music on the road for Vincymas in 2022. Today, we are going to pay out over $380,000 in prize monies to our components. And generally, our prize monies are in the region of $550,000 to $600,000. But as I pointed out, the mass aspect of it has already received a substantive portion of their appearance fees, which was done even prior to Vincymas. People sometimes think that Mass and Vincymas is an inexpensive exercise. But I am here to let you know that easily Vincymas, while we manage it to the tune of $3 to $4 million every year, Vincymas is way more an expensive exercise than that. And one of the things that we are doing is we are commissioning a study during the course of this year on the economic impact of Vincymas in terms of its cost versus its benefit to the nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Before I leave, I would just like to say, apart from saying very much a thank you to the sponsors, I want to particularly recognize the National Lotteries Authority, who for years has continued to be a premium partner to Vincymas, to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who continues to support Vincymas over the years, and to our sponsors, large and small, to whom we will be coming very shortly with programs and plans for Vincymas 2023. One of the innovations that the National Lottery was able to support us in this year, and I hope you get a chance to visit it shortly, is the Entice Carnival Lounge and Carnival Shop. And this was an initiative which was designed to bring carnival costume material to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to facilitate the masquerade aspect of Vincymas, and also to provide an avenue for Vincymas to continue to be promoted throughout the year. In fact, some of the revenue that was generated from the Entice Carnival store and lounge has actually been used to offset some of our expenses over the course of the year. So again, we thank the National Lotteries Authority for supporting us in that venture as we look to become less dependent on the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the national lotteries for the continuation of the operations of the Carnival Development Corporation. Right after this, we are going to kick off in earnest all our promotions for Vincymas 2023, and we look forward to your continued support as we continue to make Vincymas the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. And we invite you to come, all of you who are hearing me, all of you who are here in the Victoria Park, and all of you who have friends, come to Vincymas from June 30th to July 11th, 2023. And let's continue to send the message to the world that Vincymas remains the hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman Ricardo Adams. And you'd have heard him quoted some figures here this afternoon with regards to a contribution to the components. I think I must add the fact that having made a contribution of over 200,000 plus, or paid, should I say, to the mass bands over $200,000 plus, there was not a single buck, not a single dollar that the Carnival Development Corporation would have collected for any mass event for 2022. But we stand committed and certainly ensured, although the journey was a fairly long one, that all the mass bands certainly would have received their payments. I would like us now to invite to the podium the chairman of the board of directors of the National Lotteries Authority. Put your hands together and welcome Mr. Murray Bullock.
Thank you, Anthony. The National Lotteries Authority pays Mr. Denny to speak, but he prefers to come and talk for CDC free. However, I would let that one pass. The Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Ralphie Gonsalves, the Chairman of CDC, Mr. Ricardo Adams, board members of CDC, the Executive Director, Mr. Ashford Wood, and members of his staff, members of the board of the National Lotteries Authority, and employees of National Lottery Authority, massmen, calypsonians, panmen, components of Carnival, good evening. I want to congratulate the CDC for organizing this evening's event. Staging Vincymas 2022 was a Herculean undertaking coming out of COVID and the downturn and restrictions in the global economy would have created certain hurdles that were almost impossible to overcome. And it is a tremendous achievement that CDC was able to stage a successful Vincymas Mass 2022. I think you need to take a bow and feel that you have accomplished a great task. I congratulate you. And we must bear in mind that for Vincymas, there was a tremendous underperformance in the sponsorship department. A lot of enterprises, both state-owned and otherwise, who are sometimes CDC's biggest critic, and sometimes are even represented on the board of CDC, refuse to put a single cent in Vincymas 2022. Most people believe that the National Lottery has a bottomless pit of money. When they hear that the National Lotteries Authority has created another record in sales, 90-something plus million, people believe erroneously that the 90-something million is available for spending. But let me remind us that 77 cents out of every dollar goes to the payment of prizes. Between 8.5 and 9 cents out of every dollar goes to pay our technology providers, CBN, Canadian banknote, for the provision of the equipment and technology. So that leaves 15 cents, probably thereabouts, for National Lotteries Authority to pay staff and other administrative costs by paper and all the attendant costs involved in running an institution like the National Lotteries Authority, and then contributions. So the National Lotteries Authority is not a banking institution. It is not it is not an institution that accumulates significant reserves in cash. As the income is generated, it is spent on national development, whether it is in the development of sporting infrastructure, as we have done over the last 20-somebody years, or whether it is providing educational assistance to children attending schools in St. Vincent the Grenadines and educational institution abroad, which amounts to between $2.5 and $3 million a year. Whether it is a contribution to the National Sports Council, which directly receives over $500,000 a year from the National Lottery, whether it is contribution to CDC, and the last count I have is that in total our contribution to CDC amounts to over $2 million annually. So that would give you an idea as to how the income from the National Lotteries Authority is spent. It is not accumulated in some account somewhere, but we are always involved in developing some project of national importance. And as we all know, culture, yes, somebody said in the past, you can't eat culture, but culture is one of the essences of our existence. And if we don't preserve and promote our culture, then we have very little. And Carnival, whether you like it or not, plays a significant part in the development of our national culture. So Carnival would never be in a position where it generates a surplus, and therefore it must be nurtured and financed by central government and by sponsors and institutions like the National Lottery, whose mandate is to develop sport and culture. Therefore, Since I have assumed the office as chairman of the National Lottery Authority, I would imagine in 2021, we have increased our contribution to CDC by leaps and bounds. Previous to this administration taking office, the maximum, and Mr. Wood, you were around, I believe, around those in those years in one capacity or the other. And I believe that I cannot be contradicted if I state categorically here this evening that the maximum contribution previous to this administration to CDC was $75,000 a year. Anybody who feel they can contradict me, you're welcome to come up and do so. So this administration through the National Lottery has demonstrated its commitment to the development of culture and to the enhancement of carnival in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to commend CDC on its effort to attain some level of self-sufficiency. This is a tremendous goal, and it is worthy of praise rather than criticism, unfair criticism. CDC operates a lottery booth that is doing very well, and I encourage them to perhaps get involved in 2 or 3 more in critical areas so that you can increase your income. And your effort in developing what was a storeroom into perhaps the most outstanding lunch bar and store in St. Vincent is commendable. And I hope that those persons who are so ready to criticize, condemn, and pull down take the time out to come and support this worthwhile venture. I want to take this opportunity to wish the board, the management and staff of the National Lotteries Authority all the best for the new year. I want to thank them for their tremendous hard work and dedication to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because without their efforts and the efforts of our agents and runners in pushing, promoting, and selling the products of the National Lottery, we would not be able to achieve our record sales, and it would appear that we are on target to even better last year's performance this year. So I want to thank all those persons and to wish them all the best for the new year and for the future. And I encourage all mass men, all components of Vincymas to support Vincymas by supporting the National Lottery. Remember, you have to be in it to win it. And when you support the National Lottery, you support the development of sports and culture and education in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I want to thank you for coming out here this evening, and I want to wish you all the best for 2023. God bless.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The chairman of the National Lotteries Authority, Mr. McGregor Seeley, Mr. Murray Bullock. Mr. McGregor Seeley is the general manager. But he said you have to be in it to win it, and I want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Miss SVG 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the wonderful lady who's here with us this evening. Of course, all sponsored by the National Lotteries Authority, Miss Jada Ross. Put your hands together. As I said, weather is not the best this afternoon, and we're going to be motoring along. And at this point in time, I'd like to invite to the microphone, ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Put your hands together and welcome Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonsalves.
Mr. Chairman, the chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation and chairman of the board of the National Lottery, members of the various organizations which constitute the components of Carnival, Starleaf, and specially invited guests, including the magnificent child of our Caribbean civilization, Ms. Jada Ross. Happy to see you. You always lift the spirit. I came back last night from overseas. I saw the invitation and I didn't know Carlos was not going to be here, but I wanted still to be here. I was invited because I'd like to take the opportunity to speak very briefly to a few matters, generally, but also specific to Carnival and the CDC. We have just come out of 3 difficult years, 2 especially problematic years, 2020 and continuing into 2021, and still COVID is with us, but the worst ravages are behind us. I hope I don't speak too soon about that. And secondly, the volcanic eruptions of April 2021, Hurricane Elsa on July the 2nd, 2021, a lot of people forget that. The alternating periods of excessive rainfall and dry weather thereafter, all caused by deleterious climate change. And then, of course, on February the 24th last year, the Russian Federation launched its aggression on Ukraine. And we are still reeling from the knock-on effects. Indeed, the city itself and Carnival, because of supply chain challenges. I think it is generally recognized that we have weathered the storms of those years, metaphoric storms, the challenges, fairly well. I wouldn't want to go into any details about that because in this week coming up in Parliament and the debate on the appropriation bill, yes, the budget debate, you'll hear a lot about this from us, and you no doubt hear contrary opinions from the opposition. But that's it. That's life. People will be able to make up their minds. Well, I'm sure you've made up your minds already. But even though we have weathered the storm, metaphoric storms, fairly well, including last year, we had an economic growth of 5%, and we are slated to have 6% in this year. At least that's the projection from the IMF, the World Bank, our own central bank, and our own economists. At the end of last year, because of the challenges in 2020 and 20, yes, because of the challenges in 2020 and 2021 with COVID and the volcanic eruptions and so forth, by the end of last year, we were back to the national output of the end of 2019. The truth is that outside of Guyana, which has oil, that there's no other country in the CARICOM region which is in that position. And by the end of this year, it's only St. Lucia and St. Vincent and Grenadines of the OECS countries would be back to pre-COVID levels of output, national output. But despite the fact we have held things together and we are advancing, there's absolutely no doubt that across our land, a lot of our people, you can see their faces are strained and anxious. For some, it has not been easy. But after a period of convulsions, a period of immense dislocations, and for some persons, even despair, this is a time of respair. R-E-S-P-A-I-R. It's a beautiful old English word. If you look it up on your phone, you will find that it came into the use in the English language in the lexicon around the 14th century. And it survived until around the 17th century and then got into disuse. I tease my English friends and tell them that maybe it went into disuse because this word respair means fresh hope, and they haven't had many opportunities for fresh hope after the 17th century. But that's what it is. Fresh hope after a period of dislocations, immense convulsions, unprecedented. Fresh hope involves matters which touch and concern the material, the economy. But it also relates to the spirit, to the soul, to our essences, things which are existential to us. And things which are existential to us, they reside in a space in our consciousness, a fluid space in our consciousness. And in that fluid space of our consciousness, we can utilize the possibilities therein, which we know constitute the genius of our peoples. We can take advantage of that which is positive, all of the possibilities and the strengths therein, or we can adopt a posture of negativism, which will destroy the genius in that fluid space. Unfortunately, in small countries like ours, and particularly those which have suffered native genocide, a history of the enslavement of African bodies and indentured servitude for those of Portuguese and Indian descent. And because colonialism and imperialism have taught us over the years, and so many of us have imbibed this, that we are essentially mimic men and mimic women, and thinking that everybody is better than us. Well, I always affirm that we are not better than anybody, but nobody is better than us. And it is that fluid space where resides the genius of our people, that the artists of the creative imagination flourish. Those such as represented in Pan, in Calypso, in soca, in music generally, and in mass. No, always in an organized society, and particularly so with creative people. Sometimes, given our history and given the individualism, which is very much an attendant part of individual creativity, that you tend to individualize this thing so much that you forget that we have only made progress through solidarity with one another in collective action. And very often, I witness a lot of disregard for the requisites of solidarity. And inside of any structure which we have for the creative arts, including CDC, there will be dissonances. But we have evolved as a civilization, as a component of a magnificent civilization, our Caribbean civilization, which is unique and authentic, that we have evolved cultural norms and values to accommodate those dissonances. And where the cultural norms and values, which basically ground themselves in a thing called respect, that where those themselves are not able to correct the dissonances or to mute them, to lessen them, there are institutional instruments. For instance, in the law which sets up the CDC to address these problems. And when I was a boy, and we played marble, we played top, and we can't get our way. Sometimes you may get so individualistic and petulant that we want to take up with top and go home, and we want to take up with marble them and we go home. Or you pull up your stumps and you want to go home and you make a bad. But we know that was infantile conduct. And the Apostle Paul teaches us, in fact, that when I was a child, I'm engaged in childish things. But when I have become grown up, I deal with matters of a man and woman and address them in the context which I have just been speaking about. And you do so with faith, with hope, and in this case, fresh hope, and with abundant love. Faith can only be made real through works. And love is a never fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. So we have to work together to advance. Solidarity with one another. There are persons who believe that no. I'm like an atom in the physicist laboratory. I'm an atomized individual. But you know what happened? You think you're really free? You think the atom is free? The atom is manipulated by the physicists. And if you think anybody in any activity, if you think that you can get in, you can exist as an atom, individual unto yourself, me, and don't consider this collective, I tell you something, there's always somebody out there who'd want to manipulate you. That's what Donald Trump doing, those who are so highly individualistic in the deep south of those United States. I'm talking to an audience here now. I'm the oldest man here, you know. I don't have any dog hunting in this race. I've lived more years than I have remaining left to live. So all I can do is to give you the basis of my knowledge, reflections, and experience. Now, we have set up an institution called the Carnival Development Corporation. This government was elected in 2001 in March. By the end of 2002, the Carnival Development Corporation law and operations were in place. This man who is talking to you here was intimately involved in the drafting of the law. The two other persons, Oreni Batiste, Mama Culture, then minister, lawyer herself, and Petrona Seeley, who subsequently became Petrona Seeley Brown, a legal draftsperson. And weekends, we will hammer out. We'll work on Saturdays and Sundays, putting this lot together. Remember this. And sometimes we have amnesia. For all the years before and after independence in 1979, there are people who are calling for a permanent statutory body called the Carnival Development Corporation. And you get a mountain of excuses from everybody, from successive governments. But in 1 year and a bit, we were able to draft a law and bring it to Parliament and set up this CDC. And there is a lot of wisdom in the law. And we have subsequently amended in 2007 aspects of the law. And there are 2 regulations issued under the law. And it is now 20 years since this law was passed and 16 years since we have put some amendments to it. And there may well be need for other amendments. But I will say that to the extent that we should have amendments or any alterations, we must not make those alterations such as to empower further the CDC in relation to certain matters. Because I think the law is there sufficiently. And this activity called Carnival is something in which 3 elements are involved: the market, the state, and the community, and the part of the community being the creative artistic community primarily. But of course, Carnival doesn't belong to steel band alone. I used to play pan, I don't play it anymore. I played mass before I ain't play it anymore. And I can't sing for my supper. So, but yet, I see the value of Carnival and I love it. So it belongs, if it belongs to a old man like me, I sure it belongs. Doesn't mean because I'm an old man chronologically, that means I ain't young in my ways. And I can't shake a leg. And that my head ain't young with ideas. Though they're all young with ideas, they're young with ideas which are connected to my capacity. No. This law sets out what the Carnival Development Corporation should do. The corporation shall have the power to manage, promote, develop, and carry out the Carnival Festival or activity within and outside of the state. So when CDC take some forms of mass and carry them overseas, and people say, what are they doing that for? Well, Parliament in its wisdom say you can do it. The only thing you have to do it sensibly, reasonably. And when it means the Carnival, it doesn't only mean the mass costume, though it means pan, it means calypso, it means every component, soca every component. And then the law goes on to say this. Notwithstanding the generality of subsection 1, that's what I just read. The corporation shall organize, promote, conduct, and control the operation and management of the Carnival of the state, either independently or in conjunction with any other company or organization concerned with the development of Carnival. The law itself is saying it's the state, it's the market, and it's the community. Subject to the business plan, carry on any form of activity and businesses related to the Carnival that may from time to time be approved by the minister, as I said, the Minister of Culture. Under the law, the CDC is to give a plan no later than 4 months in the financial year. What you're going to do, how you're going to raise money. And if you don't do that, it's the minister's job to say, but you're not carrying out the legal mandate. And it is the business of the components on the committee, on the board. Because remember this, for the administration of the corporation, you have 12 members appointed by the minister, approved by cabinet. Persons having experience in matters relating to business and financial management, human resource management, marketing, advertising, and public relations. And you have people like those. But look, if you're not on the board, don't mean that other people don't have your skill, can be on the board, and the same thing too cool. I passed every year at Hot 97 to do I leave a present, some wine. They beat up on me every single morning for the whole year. by walk inside there unannounced. And they had me for 3 hours. And they spent over an hour per CDC. Well, amidst all the issues we have in this country, you spend 1/3 of the time. Of course, if they want more than 3 hours, I have to get them. In fact, it's then called stumps because I was still ready to go on. But you have fellows with public relations there. They may not be doing it as well as you think they should be doing it. By all means, make your inputs and do it reasonably and sensibly. And make your criticism. But for God's sake, don't impute bad faith on the part of people who are spending a lot of time and who ain't getting no big set of money to do this thing. You know, peppercorn. And then it says on the board of the corporation, the Carnival Mass Band Association is represented. Well, the Carnival Mass Band Association, the Parliament considers that they will have their business in order to be able to choose a representative. So you must have your own affairs in order too. So if you have your affairs in disorder, don't blame the CDC when one man comes to them and say, they speak on your behalf and you accept that. And then you have another contrary saying. It's not a Tower of Babel, you know. Yulupan movement. We didn't say Rodney Small Kingdom, you know. We say Yulupan movement. St. Vincent and Grenadines Calypsonian Association. It ain't Kaba. And why Kaba represent him well? Some go say Kaba Kaba. But keep your thing going good. And 3 other persons the cabinet may consider fit to conduct the business of the board. And the business is in the particular way, the specifications. I don't want to go through all of them, but it is of the type which I'm just talking about. And then they say, why you have to get a license from CDC to take part or put some festival. The law doesn't say that, you know. The law, there's a section, a rubric in the law which says, persons holding carnival festival with or without a license. It says, a person may hold a carnival festival or activity in the state with or without a license granted by the board. But it goes on to say, pursuant to this section above, if a person holds a carnival festival or activity without obtaining a license from the board, he shall not be entitled to any assistance, financial or otherwise, from the board. Well, that's okay. You want to do your own thing. Nobody stop you from doing your own thing, but don't line up by the trough and ask CDC for money. Look, it's sensible man or woman write this thing, you know. And it's your representatives in parliament who approve this law. I encourage people to read the law, you know. I believe some man on the CDC board who ain't read, man or woman who ain't read the law. But you need to read the law. You need to read the law. And do it, you know. I know persons are normally concerned about, well, what happened if you ain't get a license, but you want to get a license so that you could get some money? The law says that if the board doesn't give you a license and therefore not giving you money, you can appeal to the minister. It says so in the law. within 14 days of the decision you're appealing against. And the minister has to refer this matter to an appeal tribunal. You know, as the minister, neither the board nor the minister is a King Kong. I don't know if the board want the powers of King Kong, but I certainly ain't going to go to Parliament to give the board no powers of King Kong. And then the minister alone can't handpick, he has to bring them to cabinet for the approval between 1 or 3 members for the tribunal. I hear a lot of criticisms made about CDC. You know, sometimes you have a function here in the park, and CDC says you can't hold an activity. Well, the CDC just can't say so. Elsewhere, CDC can't say so. That's not what the law says. And I brought the law book, you know, so because a lot of criticisms are made without people understanding what Parliament has agreed to. Section 6 of the law. Restriction on person holding carnival festivity or activity. Any person who is desirous of holding a carnival festival or activity on a day on which an event of the Carnival Development Corporation is scheduled to take place shall not be allowed to do so if the event or activity is deemed by order of the Carnival Development Corporation to have competing interests with its scheduled event. Competing interests. It doesn't say that if they want to hold another activity. You have a Queen show here, and my family Luke boy, want to have a fete, wet fete, or whatever the name of it, out on Annisville. CDC can't stop him. If you want to hold a Queen show out there, CDC will say, but I have a Queen show here already. That will be a competing, the law says, a competing interest. I know sometimes that it is said that man and woman have friend, and they will allow a man to hold something somewhere on a night when they have activity, but they would not allow somebody else. Well, if they do that, it's wrong. You can't discriminate against anybody. I am born yesterday. I know every dog got a friend. But you have to be reasonable. But if they take a decision, that decision is not final, it's a decision which can be appealed. The CDC is not a law unto itself. Once, I heard that Calvert Jones want to bring in a ban from people from Barbados, and bring people from outside to go on carnival. And they told me that CDC said no, they're bringing in, this is not a local ban. Well, I'm sorry. When we are doing this thing, the song by Kitchener was in my head when we drafting the law. And when I heard about it, I said, but that's foolishness. The road make to walk on Carnival Day. The only man could stop you walking on the road Carnival Day is the Commissioner of Police for security grounds. In fact, there's a particular regulation made under this law called the Carnival Parade of Costume Bans regulations. What happens is this: if you have your mass band, and you have your rope, you have your marshals, if I'm not a member of that band, or I am not given permission to come inside of the rope, I can't go inside. there's a regulation on that in order to help the mass man them. So I'm just encouraging everybody to read the law and read the regulations. No. This issue of culture. You know, people, we see the brothers and sisters in Starlish. For 4 years before we came to office in 2001, there was no panorama, you know. Could you imagine a Caribbean country in a panorama? You had 3 pan side at the time. Cyan Hill, euphonium. I'm talking those with pan. Vinlake potential from Caliacua and Starlight. Youths, they might know that because you want the wrong. Huh? Because we had one up Edinburgh that closed down. There was one with some students, former students from Girls High School. They still existed, wanted to have, but they had no pan. Eurythmics, that was called. The man who here talking to you, we couldn't do it for June 2001, June, July 2001. But for June, July 2002, I organized to have panorama. Gray with Vinlake potential say, nah, he ain't coming. I said, well, that's okay. I approve $35,000 for Eurythmics to get pans. They come from Trinidad. I approved $30,000 for Cyan Hill Euphonium to get some new pans. And you had Cyan Hill, Eurythmics, and Starlift. That is how pan came back in 2002. Did you know that, young man? You didn't know that? Yeah. That's why you have to have memory, you know. The two best books in the world. The book of Revelation, written by John on Patmos. And the second book is the book of history, whichever history it is. Those are the 2 important books. The book of Revelation, the book of life, as outlined in the book of Revelation, and the book of history. Now, so each of them sided. They come first, second, third. And then to generate interest, I organized with my brethren Patrick Manning, who was then Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago, to get my favorite pan side from Lavantil, which had descendants of Vincymas there. You know that pan side? From up Lavantil. Desperados, Despas. And we brought them here, not once but twice. They played in tongue and they played around the country. Then we start pan against crime and set the ball rolling. We set it rolling. I hear people talk about, and I see it, people shooting. Some of them involved in cocaine and so on. I never read in the newspaper, and the commissioner of police never tell me that a man from a pan side kill anybody. Because you ain't got time to deal with worthless man and vagabond. You got time to play music. You see how they're linked? Same thing with the sports. Sports against crime. Until now, You have it's about a dozen big pan side you got. And several more than that in schools and in the communities. And we still have to do more. And in the period, we say those guys who got skills and who bright and who want to advance, we'll send them away to study music, including pan. That's how some brethren, including Rodney Small, who is arguably the best tenor pan player in the whole of the Caribbean. No. Brother Batiste, no, Nahi. No, you can't cut off my neck for that. I'm careful with words. I said arguably. You forget my adverb, arguably. So you could argue about me with it. Arguably. But he was educated along with others too. At the Edna Manley School in Jamaica. And he now heads, we set up an office where he's dealing with culture, not in the old way, but dealing with it as a business. And his deputy is a very good Calypsonian from Lomans. You all know him too. Eh? It's not Ashford we send there, no? Yeah? It's not Denny we send there, no? You know, each man to his own purpose in life. So there's Rodney and Bomani. And we have to strengthen that. And we can talk about other cultures. I'm talking now. Tonight is the night for me talking about Brother Andrews and the others who went and studied. And then we had you notice, you had a thing with the Queen shows. We said in order to encourage the best of what we have to offer, we say if you win that show, among any other prize you get, you will get a 3-year scholarship to go to the University of the West Indies. You see the beautiful and bright young ladies who normally come for it? Because they know that their lustrous eyes may fade beyond tomorrow. So they have to put things inside of their brain. This is how these things are done. And of course, what money the Carnival Development Corporation gets, they have to spend it properly. I have in my hand here the financial estimates for the Carnival Development Corporation ending in the year 2020. And all the money they get and how it's spent is in the estimates, is in the audited financial statements. And these statements every year are put in Parliament so that the parliamentarians can see and the public can see how the money which they get from government, this year you're getting $60,000 more than last year. The contribution is $560. how much the shows cost inside of this document, how much it costs, how much they give the mass band, how much it costs to put on the Queen show, the Calypso show, the Soca show, the money which you collect. Everything is inside of here, you know, audited by an independent auditor. And, well, not much happened in 2020 or in 2021. But those audits are to come. But this is what the auditor said in relation to the accounts, the last accounts here, 2020. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the CDC as of August the 31st, 2020, and its financial performance, changes in fund balances and its cash flows for the year, then ended in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards for small, medium, and medium-sized entities. In other words, an independent auditor went and audited the accounts, as it's done every year. The law says it must be done. And if they don't do it, I will ask where the hell the accounts they. Because one of the major ways to hold any entity to account is to get the audited accounts. That is a fundamental principle of good corporate governance. And it has to be reported to the minister, to the cabinet, and we take it to parliament in accordance with the law. So when I hear a man talk and make insinuations, the money they spend on travel overseas, it's inside of here, you know. They can't hide it. And they're enjoined by the law to keep proper books here. No. There's another institution which is allied very strongly. The National Lottery. Again, this time, when he wasn't involved in this, was Seeley, Petrona Seeley, and myself. The National Lottery was existing, but the National Lottery provides this year, gone, $1.2 million to CDC, you know, in cash. There are also things, assistance in kind. And of course, the National Lottery, we put in, I went to cabinet for this facility here to be put in the hands of National Lottery. Look at how they fix it up good. And CDC gets this. Free of cost. So there are other things inside which they get. But the accounts deal with this. The National Lottery existed from 1984 July. And for 17 years, up to 2001, nobody, no prime minister, no minister of finance had ever spoken to the general manager of the National Lottery. The first man who did that is Ralph, after I came to office, in the second week when I came to office. I said, tell me what you want us to do. Because I saw the potential of the lottery. In fact, when I was chairman of the Public Accounts Committee in my role as leader of the opposition, I brought Stephen Joachim, who was chairman, along with Keith Joseph, twice to the standing committee, the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, to question them. And I had the director of audit there with me. This is how you do things, not to skip and not to go by radio and talk F.T on an ongoing basis. And we brought the lotto. The lotto used to roast $10 million when I arrived in office. No, they just sent me the annualized number. January the 1st last year to December the 31st is 92 point something million dollars. You hear me? It is, if you do things properly, you set the process in place. You're going about your base, you're going about your business, going by a tavern, drinking. You go by and you go partying. I don't expect you to be following these things in the detail because you say, man, listen, I elect Ralph, man. I know the comrade going to do the thing. And if I ain't do it right, you'll kick my butt. You ain't kick it yet. And for those who think I was going, and I had intended, but told me I must stay on. The party told me I must stay on. But to quote Cutty Ranks, if you think I did done, I just a come. And those who believe otherwise, I quote General Trees, is one general in the yard. We will continue to support the CDC, this government, and all the components of Carnival. I understand this or that component has some growth. Well, I'll be surprised if you don't have complaints. But don't allow those complaints to turn you into a Taliban. No, we deal with those complaints reasonably and rationally. We have the track record. I wish you all the best this evening. I want you to know that I love you. I love you as an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. Have a wonderful evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Prime Minister Dr. Niall Ralph E. Gonsalves. And put your hands together once again for Prime Minister Gonsalves. At this point in time, I would like to welcome a member of the CDC's Chosen Marketing Committee, Ms. Diesel Cupid, to come forward to give us the vote of thanks. Let's welcome her.
Please allow me to adopt the protocol that has been established. Carnival is integral to our cultural identity and has the ability to bring Vincentians at home and abroad to celebrate the hottest carnival in the Caribbean in one space. 2022, despite the odds, a pandemic, the eruption of La Soufrière, thing was definitely nice again. For this, the Board of Directors of the Carnival Development Corporation would like to recognize the hard work and dedication of all involved in the fruition of Vincymas 2022, as well as this evening's proceedings. In all things, we must first give thanks to Almighty God for his mercies and blessings, and for allowing us to have an awesomely safe Vincymas 2022. So for this, I wish to begin my acknowledgement by thanking Mr. Earl Cabot Bennett for inviting God's presence here this evening. The Starlift Steel Orchestra's reps for that beautiful rendition of our nation's anthem. Mr. Anthony Denny, Chairman of the Vincymas Shows Committee, for chairing this evening's event. Mr. Ricardo Adams, Chairman of the CDC, for his remarks and his recap of Vincymas 2022. And Mr. Murray Bullock of the National Lotteries Authority for his remarks. The Dr. the Honorable Ralph Egan Sals, Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Legal Affairs and Information, for his inspiring words. We wish to recognize and express thanks to our sponsors, the governments of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in particular, the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development, and Culture for their continued support. The National Lotteries Authority, premium partner of Vincymas, for continuing to be the indispensable factor of our festival. Flow, the St. Vincent Brewery Limited, the Vincential Cultural Connection Channel, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Tourism Authority, Star Broadcasting Corporation, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Broadcasting Corporation, the National Broadcasting Corporation, WeFM, BDS Nice Radio, Extreme FM, API, IKTV, Boom SVG, the News newspaper, the Vincentian Publishing Company Limited, Searchlight Newspaper, the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, the National Insurance Services, Carez Distribution Limited, the National Properties Limited, St. Vincent Teachers Cooperative Credit Union, General Employees Cooperative Credit Union Limited, the Central Water and Sewage Authority, Massey Stores SVG Limited, VJs, the East Caribbean Group of Companies, In Transit Exports, SEDCO, Davin, the St. Vincent Building and Loan Association, the Beachcombers Hotel, Grenadines House, the Sunset Shores, and the Embassy of the Republic of China on Taiwan. We also wish to express thanks to the components of Vincymas, Pan Kaiso Mas. Your continued contribution and participation guarantee the success of our festival. The subcommittees for your hard work in making Vincymas 2022 a continued success. The Shows and Marketing Committee, the Beauty Shows Committee, Protocol, Rural and Technical Committees. Thank you to the staff of the Carnival Development Corporation's office for your unwavering hard work and dedication. Thank you to both print and electronic media houses for covering Vincymas locally, regionally, and internationally. And to the many volunteers who contributed in one way or another towards the success of the festival, we express our gratitude. We look forward to working with all of you for Vincymas 2023 as we continue to plan and execute the hottest carnival in the Caribbean.
And thank you very much to Ms. Diesel Cupid for those kind words here this evening. It's that time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to certainly present the prizes for Vincymas 2022. As you notice, we have a bit of a shower, but just to let all the winners to know that to my left, your right, there's a holding tent. So we asking persons to, not everybody can fit into that area, but you have your program. That is a guide as to how we're going to go about the awarding of the prizes here this evening. So the juniors, if you can start occupying that holding tent to your right, we'll greatly certainly appreciate such. I'll invite the chairman of the Carnival Development Corporation, Mr. Ricardo Adams, to assist us with the awards with regards to the prizes to come. So we start first with Junior Calypso in the primary category. And there was a tie for second position from the Greg's Government School, Nyla Nero, and from the Calder Government School, Denise Davis. So invite Denise Davis and Nyla Nero, second position, Junior Calypso 2022. And the teachers are here this evening, both from the Greg's Government School and the Calder Government School. Put your hands together. Let's congratulate the Greg's Government School, I believe. Oh, that was Calder. My apologies. And now we'll have Mr. Andrews to collect on behalf of Denise Davis. Let's show some appreciation, ladies and gentlemen. We now move to Junior Calypso in the secondary category. In third position from the St. Vincent Girls High School, Shania Stevens. Third place, Junior Calypso, secondary school category, Shania Stevens. And maybe for the benefit of the photographers, you prefer it on my left? Just indicate. Photographers, it's okay. All right, so there we go. Let's congratulate Shania Stevens, ladies and gentlemen. Third place, Junior Calypso in the secondary category for 2022 from the St. Vincent Girls High School. In second position, a youngster who made it all the way to the Calypso finals as a reserve. Let's welcome from the Emmanuel High School, Mesopotamia, Omani Cupid. And certainly a youngster who's quite talented. His father is a Calypsonian, that's Gosnell Cupid, and his sister, also Calypsonian. But let's congratulate Omani Cupid from the Emmanuel High School, second position, Junior Calypso 2022. And let me just say to all the winners, you need to go to the CDC office that is just above here to sign for your checks. Mr. DJ, 1 second, please. This is a very important announcement. Thank you, Mr. DJ. Thank you, Mr. DJ. Yes, to all the winners, you receive your trophies on stage, but on completion, we invite you to go to the CDC office where you'll sign, to receive your checks, or your prizes, I should say. So we expect everyone to go to the CDC office and sign to receive your checks. We now move to Junior Soca Monarch. In third position from the Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial, Nikolai Matthews and Jelani Sandy, a tie for third position. Let's welcome them both, ladies and gentlemen. My apologies, it's actually a duo. So let's welcome them both. Nikolai Matthews and Jelani Sandy from the Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial. In second position, ladies and gentlemen, Junior Soca Monarch from the Central Leeward Secondary School, the coach Tibbles. Second position, Junior Soca Monarch 2022 from the Central Leeward Secondary, the coach Tibbles. We move on to the Junior Soca Monarch 2022 from the Sandy Bay Secondary School, Diano Nero. Doesn't appear as if Diano's here with us, so we'll continue with our prizes.
Show them the way out. So here you go.
All right, just been told that some of the winners who we called previously are now here. So we go back to the Junior Calypso in the primary category from the Sandy Bay Government School, Devine Walters. Divine Walters. Very petite young lass. Let's congratulate her, ladies and gentlemen. And the Junior Calypso Monarch in the secondary school category, Christian Christopher from the St. Vincent Grammar School. Little Chris. Christian Christopher from the St. Vincent Grammar School, first place, Junior Calypso in the secondary category for 2022. We now go back to the Junior Soca Monarch and announce the winner from the Sandy Bay Secondary School, Diano Nero. That's right now we under the pressure and tragedy. And if you feel the same, come now say SBG go rise on top. Yeah, we go rise on top. We don't want to come down, we don't want to stop. Sing on us again, SBG we go party and never stop till the end of all in a dream. Well, just to say that Diano Nero of the Sandy Bay Secondary School and Nico J. Tibbles of the Central Leeward Secondary. Right now. I see a little one coming forward. And they want a light to show them the way out. So all right, she's going to collect for Dino at the Sandy Bay Secondary School. But just be my friend, things go nice again. So Divine Walters collecting for Dino Nero of the Sandy Bay Secondary School. Nico J. Tibbles not with us here this evening. So we continue. We now move on to Miss SVG 2022. Second runner-up, Miss Flo, Shania Peters. Come on, give us some love. Show us some love, ladies and gentlemen. Shania Peters, Miss Flo, second runner-up, Miss SVG 2022. First runner-up, Miss Davin, Shadin McLean. First runner-up, Shadin McLean, Miss Davin. Certainly, it was indeed a wonderful event held last October, Miss SVG 2022. And now the winner, sponsored by the National Lottery Authority under the brand of Lotto. Let's welcome Miss SVG 2022, Miss Jada Ross. Jada Ross, Miss SVG 2022. Once again, ladies, you go to the CDC's office to collect your checks. We now go to the National Calypso Competition. In the meantime, we'll invite Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. We've got PAN coming up next. And we'll invite Prime Minister Gonsalves to make the presentations for PAN. Ask Mr. Ricardo Adams to remain for the Calypso. In fourth position, Glenroy Caesar, the Sule.
Hey, yo, St. Vincent right now. The people in them want a light.
Or if there's a rep to collect on behalf of Sule, doesn't appear to be the case.
I know you're feeling bad.
Okay, so we understand that there is someone to come forward to collect on behalf of Sule. And also Calypsonian.
This one is a tough one, but I want you to take time. I want you to sit down. I want you to remember we all are we came from.
Ladies and gentlemen, in third position, Chanel McKenzie. And her brother, Omani Cupid. will come forward to collect on behalf of Chanel McKenzie. Second position, National Calypso Competition 2022, Kingsley Hero Roberts. Of course, here this afternoon with the Starlift Steel Orchestra, who would have done a wonderful job in providing music early on. Put your hands together for the hero. And your Calypso Monarch 2022, Maxwell Francis, the Tajo. We now invite Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves to assist us with the presentation of prizes for Panorama. Just awaits the arrival of PM Gonsalves to assist us with presenting the prizes for Panorama 2022. In third position, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, PM Gonsalves. In fourth position, the Southeast Steel Orchestra. All right, so we have a rep coming forward for the Southeast Steel Orchestra. Fourth position, Panorama 2022. In the meantime, we'll ask a rep from the Epic Sound Steel Orchestra. That's the National Properties Limited Epic Steel Orchestra to stand by. You're in third position. And now, this is Epic in third position. Trophy to be presented by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. And now we have Southeast. Fourth position, Southeast Steel Orchestra, now receiving their trophy, ladies and gentlemen. In position number 2, the Sand Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra. And Mr. Warren Knights will come forward to accept on behalf of Sand Hill Euphonium. Ladies and gentlemen, your Panorama Champs of 2022 Hennessy Starlift Steel Orchestra. And the hero is here to collect on behalf of Starlift. Just to make an announcement with regards to the Monday band. The biggest t-shirt band for 2022. That award goes to Flo. Put your hands together for Flo. Biggest band for 2022. And the most uniform t-shirt band, Mustique Company Limited. Most uniformed. We now move to a raga soca competition. In third position with the composition Chemistry, Utamo Rose, Bongo Prime, third position. Presentation to be made by Prime Minister Gonsalves. Bongo Prime, third position. Second position, Raga Soca 2022 with the song All I Need, Hans John. Miss John is coming forward for the benefit of Prime Minister Gonsalves. He asks, who is this? So that's Miss John, Mrs. John, to be. Mrs. John designate, I should say. Hans John, second position, Raga Soca 2022. And your Raga Soca monarch with social media police, Delroy Hooper, the fireman. And looks like Mrs. Jean Johnny Finlay, yes, who's coming forward to collect on behalf of fireman. Put your hands together for the fireman. He did the double this year. Or should I say last year? Thank you very much, Prime Minister Gonsalves. Certainly was a pleasure having you at today's event. We now move to Soca Monarch. And in position number 4, with his rendition, The Call, Kamar Christopher Man Kemi. And we invite the CDC chairman to make the presentation.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, Kemi, he's reminding me. He's a big man. Simply called Kemi. In third position, doing Wade, Darren Rouse, the Magical. And the rep will come forward on behalf of Magical.
You know we don't pay. The people that be waiting. Say Magical boy if you coming for crowd.
Second position, Soca Monarch 2022. Placed on over. Keith Charles, grab a finesse. Grab a finesse. Second position, Soca Monarch 2022. Please turn over. Yeah, let's put the hands together for Grabber. And ladies and gentlemen, your Soca Monarch 2022 with the song Bad Demon, Delroy Hooper, the fireman. And once again, Mrs. Jean Johnny Finlay to collect on behalf of fireman. Put your hands together. Congratulations to fireman, of course, doing the double this year. And I've been told that the Junior Soca Monarch, of course, there was a tie. Deco J. Tibbles is now here, and we'll invite him to come forward and collect his trophy. Deco J. Tibbles. Deco J. Put your hands together for the youngster, ladies and gentlemen. From the Central Leeward Secondary School. And our final set of presentations, Road March 2022. In third position, with place turnover, Keith Charles, grab a finesse. Third position, Road March 2022. Let's hear it from Mr. 5K. Grabber. In second position with Bad Demon, Delroy Hooper, the fireman. And his rep coming forward to collect on behalf of the fireman. And of course, the call done by Kamara Christopher Kemi, Road March 2022. Mr. DJ, we want the tune to know. Put your hands together for Kemi, ladies and gentlemen. Road match champ for 2022. Kemi wants to say a word of thanks. Thank you very much, Kemi. But to all winners, of course, don't forget to go to the CDC office to collect your checks. And to all who turned up here this evening, we say thank you ever so much for being part of the prize giving ceremony for Vincymas 2022. Certainly it's been a pleasure. And just to let you know that, of course, Entice, it's opened. We have, of course, a little snack available for everyone. And certainly we're looking forward to Vincymas 2022, June 30th to July 11th. Those are the dates for Vincymas 2023, June 30th to July 11th. Don't you miss it. The hottest carnival in the Caribbean. Thank you ever so much. And of course, we're looking forward to what's going to happen here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as far as Vincymas is concerned. Certainly was a pleasure.